Hey, I'm Dean DeMarzo,
And I'm Tori DeMarzo.
and you're listening to Relatively In Tune, where we talk to musicians and the people close to them. And because this is the very first episode we're doing, we thought it'd be good to talk to, well, us, the hosts.
Yeah, and understand why we're doing this podcast, why we're the perfect people to do it.
The idea of this podcast going forward is we're going to have musicians on with someone special in their lives, a parent, a friend, partner, roommate, whatever, and talk to them about not just their career, not just the usual things everybody asks on every interview, but also the behind the scenes stuff, the reality of knowing a musician in real life and all the real life stuff around, going on tour, being a full-time creative, the sometimes the instability of being a musician.
Yeah, and a lot of the relationship stuff that can happen in between, the good, the bad, the interesting.
And yeah, we thought we were good people to talk about this because I'm a full-time musician. I'm a YouTuber, songwriter, producer as LongestSoloEver on YouTube and Spotify. I write songs about video games, movies, TV shows, pop culture, and I have a lot of fun with it.
And while I'm trying to get into the music industry, and while I do have somewhat of a music background, we perform together, we've been performing for like 7 years, I primarily work in communications. And
yeah, so we've been experiencing kind of this duality of someone who works full-time in the music world and someone who does not and has had to deal with maybe the craziness of a creative person in the house and all that comes with that, but also all the cool stuff that comes with knowing someone in the music industry, going to concerts, the crazy, celebrity adjacent stuff that can happen.
yeah. And also I've just gotten to learn a whole bunch of stuff from you that I never would have otherwise. So I guess we could just start by, this whole interview is going to be a little bit different because
It's going to be weird.
You're the musician and the host, and I'm the guest and the host. So it'll be a little bit different.
We're being 4 different people right now.
Yeah. But I guess I'll just start out by asking you to explain a little bit about what you do in general and how you got there.
Yeah.
What led you to being interested in music?
Music was not the first thing I was obsessed with. It was computers and video games. I was dead set on being a video game developer, making stuff for Nintendo or Sega or Xbox or something. I had huge dreams. And what that was really about was about creating a whole thing. Video games were everything. They were visual art and animation and music, which is going to come back later, spoilers, and just everything. It was like this whole package of creativity that no other medium seemed to be. And yeah, video game music I latched onto a lot really early on. Sonic, Mega Man, Kirby, Mario. But I went down this road of game development and computer programming. I went to computer summer camps. I was a giant freaking nerd. Then at 12 years old, I picked up my great-grandpa's guitar, found it in my grandma's basement, and forgot about all of that for a while and just played guitar for forever.
It doesn't really seem like video games were the reason why you started playing music, though. Why did you pick up the guitar, and why were you interested in it?
I honestly think it was part of the same obsession of just creating whatever I had in my head and making it real. Guitar was just another way to do that. And full admission, the very first thing I figured out to play on guitar was the theme song from the game Secret of Monkey Island.
Why does that change? I feel like there's been so many other songs that you said, this is the first thing I learned how to play guitar. Play on guitar, and that
the true first thing I ever learned to play on guitar.
This is the real one.
This is the real one. There's the first rock song I learned to play on guitar, which was probably I don't even know. There's some Weezer in there, some Blink-182. But as far as the very first thing, when I picked up a guitar, before anyone gave me any lessons or anything, I was like, okay, you can move your finger this way to play notes. Ba, 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 ba. That was the theme song from Monkey Island. But anyway, I started posting to YouTube, as we all were at the time. You have a ton of acoustic covers
Yeah.
you posted way back then, and karaoke performances,
Yeah.
and all kinds of stuff.
But none of mine got 1 million views like yours did.
No, I got really, really lucky with my very first YouTube video. Got 2 million views, which sets a terrible, terrible like comparison point for everything you do after that. Does not make you feel good. But no,
I don't think you realized that until later on when you wanted to start working for YouTube, because
Yeah,
at
no.
the moment it was just really cool and it was like a thing that people knew you for in college, but I don't think it was something that you really identified as what you'd want to do as a career yet.
Yeah, no, I was wildly and blissfully ignorant of how rare that is, that I got millions of views on a video even today. Like that is such a rare occurrence, and to have it happen at the very, very beginning of YouTube in 2006 is ridiculous. And but YouTuber wasn't a job. There was no partner program on YouTube. There was no way to make money. There wasn't even a way to distribute your music to iTunes, really, at that point. Spotify literally wouldn't exist for another like 6 years.
I remember when you had to go on iTunes and had to go into that, what was it called, like super search, just to find a particular song. Like I had friends that were in bands that would try to get them on iTunes, which I feel like was really hard. And even to find those, I remember you had to like pull up the super search button and then put in like a whole bunch of details about the song just to find it.
That's crazy. So yeah, it was like the idea that you could make a career yourself out of music at the time would be insane. So my trajectory at that point, I was going to college for music. I knew I wanted to do that. My parents had kind of figured out I hadn't, come out of the basement and stopped playing guitar in about 3 years. So they were like, yeah, he's probably going to go to college for that. Okay, fine.
And what did you go to college for directly?
I went to college for something called music industry, which is a made-up major.
I wanted to go so bad.
The late College of St. Rose.
College of St. Rose denied me from that program.
It's okay. They're dead now. And it was a combination of performance and theory and engineering and business and law. And so I took like marketing classes and music law classes, but also audio engineering and music theory and ear training and piano. It was a really nice all-encompassing major for really, honestly, very specifically someone like me who is like wired to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Who is, it was honestly what it was like professional YouTuber as a major.
Was it?
It was,
because I feel like a lot of the other girls and why did I say girls? A lot of the other students were able to move on and do things in the industry behind the scenes. Like but
absolutely, but they're only using like one little sliver of that pie.
Yeah.
Like you have people who went on to work at labels and publishing companies, and that's amazing. And they're using the music publishing and music law part of that pie. But I'm using the music law part when I, deal with music copyright for the songs I wrote and making sure I'm getting paid for the publishing and, like sync royalties on my songs and stuff. I'm using the music business and marketing aspects when I'm marketing myself and branding myself. I'm using audio engineering every day and music theory every day, piano and guitar. And like, I don't think there's anything that requires every piece of that pie they offered other than being an independent musician, which in my opinion requires you to be on social media in some way. Right now.
It's interesting. I didn't connect until just now that like my major in communications, we had like several different strands that you can go through. And I'm surprised that music industry wasn't split into very particular mediums, because we were forced to choose. I didn't get to learn PR. I didn't get to learn journalism. I had to pick, do I want to do journalism? Do I want to do PR? Do I want to do film and new media? Or do I want to do a general communications, which they never even explained what that was. And so I picked film and new media, assuming that I was going to get a minor in music and thought maybe that would be exactly what I wanted to do. But I think it would have been helpful for St. Rose to split it off so that you could learn the industry stuff and how to produce and do stuff and then totally focus on that. Or if you wanted to go into the more communications or business side of it, then you could have, went off in that direction and studied that. And I wish that would have been a thing, because then they wouldn't have had to audition some of these people.
Yeah, well, that's to go to your story for a little bit. We met in college. We met at College of St. Rose. and you were a communications major. You wanted to be a music major.
Yep. I auditioned actually almost, I think to this day, on the day I auditioned in 2010.
Wait, are we cursing on this podcast?
Yeah. No, I auditioned, I think on this very day or tomorrow in 2010.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
it came up on Facebook today. So it was 15 years ago. 15?
I don't like hearing that. So
15 years ago.
Oh no. So
And,
yeah. Which means I auditioned 16 years ago. Oh God.
Yeah.
So yes, you auditioned. You did not get in.
Maybe we should bleep that out.
That's right, because I've said the college name too many times. You know who you are.
No, look, I wasn't prepared to sight read. I was going to go for art. Last minute decided to go for music.
Right, and you auditioned on voice, which you're a wonderful singer. You were not a trained classical singer.
I had 7 years of violin under my belt,
Right,
and it was
you were an
going to be
incredible
first violin.
violinist.
And I ended up just quitting because I had too many college courses in high school. So yeah, I should have gone for violin. I probably would have gotten in, but
as you said many times, like watching me go through the music industry major there,
I am so happy you're the person that I could just steal information from now. Like I got 2 degrees for the price of one, really.
Yes, there you go.
But you got the most out of it.
I did, and that's what I'm saying. It was unknowingly I picked the perfect major for me, because like as the ADHD all over the place mess that I am, I love that I get to, for my job, go from animating and modeling things in Blender to, shooting a podcast
Which
in my living room.
they did not teach you in that major.
No.
You taught most of this
that's
stuff
fair.
to yourself.
That's fair. Okay. Then as far as things I learned there, I like that I get to, compose and write these songs and do these arrangements. I still use the things I learned in like my jazz arranging class when I'm writing vocal harmonies and I'm doing these crazy 4-part harmonies. And then I get to engineer all that, and I get to consider the marketing end of things. Music law. I am so glad I took that music law class.
I'm glad you did too.
There are so many times it comes up when I'm talking to other artists who do not understand like how copyright works, how cover song licensing works, how remix, rights work. It's all
even in art.
Yeah, I love that I get to use all of those things, and that led to me after college doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like any musician at the start of their career, I tried a lot of things. I was working summers at a music store, cleaning the instruments in between rental seasons. So, 10,000 kids' gross mouthpieces would come back and I'd be washing them by hand. Yep, that was gross.
I couldn't do it.
You don't think about it, and it was basically a little toothbrush. Anyway, so
gross.
So I'd been working summers at a music store, doing retail, data entry, cleaning gross mouthpieces. And I answered a Craigslist ad to join a local cover band, playing like 70s and 80s funk and pop and stuff.
Wasn't it your mom who was like, why don't you just go find something on Craigslist?
Yeah, my mom was,
or something. What did she say?
I was at my parents' house, and she basically said like, yeah, go look on Craigslist for jobs. Because this was at a point where I don't necessarily think like Indeed and everything had really factored in yet.
I'm trying to think, because I don't remember how I found the jobs I did. I think I went out to locations.
This was also still
applied.
when you could actually walk into a business and ask for a job. Yes.
Sort of.
Which is how I got the job at the music store.
Yeah.
I walked in and asked. And which is such a boomer statement.
But I do remember looking at Craigslist and seeing if there was any like music things that I could do.
Yeah, and there would be.
Still, even I'll look occasionally.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I answered this Craigslist ad, and I went and played guitar in some dude's basement, and then I joined his band, and that would go on to be a band that I was a part of for like 8 years, and those people are like
I love them.
now.
They really are super nice.
And 3 like months into that.
But I do have to say too, like on the other side of that, I think your mom regretted at first saying that, because we were all very nervous for you to go to somebody's basement and audition at nighttime. And we're like, is he going to be okay? He's 20, what? You were 22?
Yeah.
And we were just like, And I think we're all waiting for you to get home and be like, are you okay
I remember
now?
my mom told me later, because we all have each other on Find My iPhone, you know, and Find My Friends, whatever. And she was like, I was tracking you just to make sure you got there okay. And after a few minutes, it said you were in the middle of the Hudson River.
Do you know how many times you have been in the middle of the Hudson River? So many times.
Look,
where I'm like, you're definitely dead. He definitely ran off the road.
In there. It's a beautiful...
But it's so close. We were like right on the edge of it. So like,
yeah, the guy's house was literally like right on the waterfront.
Everywhere you are, it's right on the edge of the water. It's fine.
Yeah. So anyway, I did end up joining the band. I played a bunch of cover songs for him. I'm trying to think like what I would have played at the time. It was probably like Earth, Wind and Fire, September. Chic, Le Freak. That was a great song that I just happened to know the guitar part for. It was like I heard it in a commercial once, and he put it on, and I was like, I think I know this. He's like, yeah, you got it. I'm like, I don't know how, but sure.
But I think, didn't he give you a list of a whole bunch of, like, it was 100 different songs, and he was like, learn as many of these as you can?
After I got in. Yes. We had a gig that weekend. He gave me a list. He said, go check the website. It has our song list. I went on, and there were 500 songs on there. So I went to the first gig, and the drummer would not stop giving me shit about this. I went to the first gig with 2 whole sheets of paper, a spreadsheet printed out of every song, what key it was in, and like a little note to jog my memory of like what the general vibe of it was.
Which now they have iPads, and they did before too, but maybe.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that far ahead.
No.
So I had 2 pieces of paper that I taped up on the wall next to my amp. Paper. And I would go before every song, I would go like kneel down and look at my giant cheat sheet and be like, oh, okay, whatever, Material Girl, this is in this key and blah, blah, blah. And then there we go.
Anyway.
So about 3 months into that, band leader asks, hey, what are you doing for the next 8 months? And that's how I ended up on a cruise ship for 8 months.
And just to give context, we were supposed to move to Nashville together.
Yes.
And I had graduated a year early with every intention of moving to Nashville together. Your friend and roommate from college was going to come with us.
Yep.
We were planning to move at the end of the summer. He went and left early, was expecting us to get there and live with him.
He's still there. He's very successful there.
You did. You took the job instead. And that was like a really hard moment for sure. I mean, I was happy for you. But also, like, I knew you, and I was like, oh, I don't know how you're going to do on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
I really don't know if you're going to like it, and I wish you would trust me when I say, like, I don't know if this is a good idea. But you went.
I did love it.
Yeah.
Until that part where, in 2013, when the world's worst norovirus outbreak of all time happened on a cruise ship.
But I would say...
That was like one of the first big moments in our relationship where I would say my music career and our, and life stuff started interacting significantly.
Yeah, because we had every intention of just moving and you being a music producer, which doesn't have anything to do with traveling and touring and things like that. So
yeah, so when I took that opportunity, when I made that change in our plans, what did that... I know you weren't thrilled about that.
No.
What did that do for you?
I mean, any college relationship in general is like, I mean, what is it? Nobody knows exactly like what the foundation of that relationship is. And I figured once we graduated and moved in together, like it would kind of settle into place. And so I felt like I was more interested in staying in the relationship, and I was worried that you weren't. And I think we really did have to have like a long conversation as to whether we wanted to even stay together. And we decided to, but I had to drive my awful 94 station wagon to Bayonne, which is like an hour and a half from where I lived at the time to go visit you every Sunday, was it? Every Sunday for
Depended on the cruise.
For 8 months, and you didn't have internet and you didn't have self-service, and like it was really, really hard. Because even when I went and drove and visited you, I had to sit in the parking lot from like 8 a.m. until you were able to get off the boat. And the second you're able to get off the boat, we had to make the most of it because we only had like 3 hours together at the most. And we, at that time, wanted to get you somewhere where you could also have Wi-Fi, because you don't typically have Wi-Fi on the boat, or if you did, it was really expensive. So like we would have to go to a cafe where you could find the Wi-Fi and do all that stuff while also trying to like talk and have a relationship.
Yeah.
And like sometimes I'd be allowed to come onto the cruise ship for like a very small amount of time. And it was fun, but I remember there was like very strict rules of having to like sign myself in and then make sure that I'm off the cruise before it takes off.
Yeah, that was important.
It was just like, it was okay. And we made it work, but it was really hard. But I do think it gave us like that opportunity to like really enjoy and savor the moments that we're able to talk to each other, because we only had like 5 minutes a day. It wasn't just like a normal like text all day long conversation.
Right.
And you brought back like fun little things for me from the cruise and like the places that you went. And then you took me on a 10-day cruise.
Yes.
And that was really fun to watch you sing. And then I got to sing on the cruise.
That was the very first time I ever heard you sing.
Yeah.
Because we had been dating for 3 years at that point. 3.5, 4.
Not 4. I think it was like 2.5 maybe.
Yeah. And she had like religiously not let me hear her sing. Because I mean, this is something we've talked about at length, but I am apparently intimidating.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Yeah.
It
took me really until like 10 plus years in to be okay with it. 100%. I don't even think I sang in front of you right away. I went to karaoke without you and had a random man film it.
Oh, that's right.
And then I took the camera, like the really old stupid cameras, like the point and shoot, like cameras. I had a red one back then, and I brought it to you and I was like, look what I did. And then I think you're like, oh, you should sing with us.
I did. I had you come on
and
stage
I messed
with the
it
band.
up.
No, you didn't. You didn't. The track was all messed up because my band leader at the time was running our entire set off of, and I will bring this up on screen somehow, an Atari laptop running a bunch of MIDI rack units from the 80s. It was like I'm surprised it wasn't run by Crank. It was insane.
But it was sped up or something, right?
It was really fast. It was Carrie Underwood's last name.
Oh, yeah.
And it came in like, and you were like, last night, I can't do it.
I know.
But you did good.
I mean, it was whatever. He fixed it, and I think we were able to kind of sort of get through it.
Yeah.
But, and then I went home and joined a karaoke contest while you were on the boat.
And you won it.
Not that time.
Not that one. You won a later karaoke contest.
Once we moved in together, I did, yeah. But anyway, to sum up how I felt, it was really hard. And it was the first time that I was like, oh, this is going to be an interesting road for sure.
Yeah.
But we made it work. And it was kind of like if we can make this work, we can probably do anything at this point.
Yes. I think that was the first, like I said, that was the first time my music career and the choices I would make about it and our personal lives started, interacting, butting up against each other. I definitely had my own issues through my whole 20s of like work-life balance and being present in the relationship and everything. Setting that aside, there's a lot of unexpected ways a music career or any creative career can go, stuff you could just never, ever see coming. Like we didn't know I was going to blow up on YouTube a couple years ago. Everything from, me joining a tiny local musical theater group, which led to me working on tracks for Broadway singers at New York City Pride events and stuff. This can take so many twists and turns along the way. How has that been like kind of not really being able to plan too far ahead in life? I'm sure that's trickier for you than it is for me. because I'm kind of riding the wave and you're getting like pulled along behind me a lot of the time, I feel like.
I don't want to like make it seem like it's really hard to be with a musician, because it's not, but there is like definitely, for me, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I wanted to get married and I wanted to have a family, not even like children or anything, just like have my own family outside of the family I came from. And that was the most important thing to me. And so that's why like I graduated early and I just studied communications and just got a random job that I didn't like, just because I wanted to like move forward and get a house with you and be the stability while you're trying to figure out what you wanted to do too. And it was okay for a while. Like I didn't realize that maybe I was becoming a little bit resentful. And now at 32, I'm like, I wish I would have focused more on the job aspect, like my career, because right now I'm now stuck in a career that I don't like and have a very hard time getting anybody to hire me in other than the insurance industry that I'm in right now. And
you have the day job that you were able to find in your 20s.
But my dream was music. It has always been music, and it was...
Right, you were just as obsessed with and passionate about music as I was.
Yeah, but I felt like I fell behind you, like you were, the primary person, like the real true musician, and I was just like some weirdo who just was like interested in it but not very good. And like,
why'd you feel like that?
Because I got denied from the music program, and then I got denied
fair.
from the a cappella group that I applied to be in. Susan. And the a cappella group too.
Yeah.
And like I applied so many times to just different things, and I was like, oh, this is just not meant to be, and he's so good and there's no way I could do anything like he could do. And I don't know. It just became what it was. And not to say I didn't enjoy it. Like I liked going and seeing you perform in that band when you came back. I enjoyed watching your plays that you were in. I used to make food for the people that would come over and record in our basement.
Yeah, you used to cook.
I mean, snacks and fun things, like pretzels and like soup and stuff like that, like, or cookies.
Soup for my clients.
I mean, they were friends and they would come over and they're singing and whatever. Yeah. It was always like my only way to participate. And I think like how you're saying that work-life balance is hard. Like you worked at the music store. You also had to work Saturdays sometimes.
I was teaching late most nights.
And you had to, like on your weekends, you had people over the house pretty much all the time, like day and night. And so like we rarely hung out, and we were married at that point, and I just barely saw you. I think I saw you for like, we'd eat dinner and we'd watch TV while we were eating dinner, and then you'd go back downstairs and then come back up. We'd watch like a short TV show and go to bed. And that was our relationship for like 5 years.
Yeah. And I was also spending a lot of that time working on my YouTube channel. That's when I kind of got it in my head that it could be a job, because now digital distribution was starting to be more of a thing. You could put your music on Spotify and iTunes and everything else, and people were getting paid on YouTube, and I was making, $40 a month on YouTube, but I could see the potential there. But I was not using my time well. I was
saying yes to like everything.
I was saying yes to everything and not to the important things. And just in my own work, I was spending so much time obsessing over things that didn't matter. Like if we were recording this podcast back then, I would have spent a day just making sure like the EQ on the microphone was perfect before we started recording. Everything had to be flawless. And like now we just sit down and record, and I know it'll be mostly pretty good and I can fix it. It's fine.
We did not just sit down and record.
No, we did not. I still spent like 2 hours setting this up. We actually set it up yesterday, and now we're recording it today. So,
and also like,
I'm improving.
Yes, I do think I could be that communications like organization that you are lacking. And we do talk about you potentially like bringing me on for more and more of that stuff as time goes on. But
Tori is the single most organized person in the world by far, and gets things done. But I don't know why I made that so violent.
I was like, did you just hit a fly or something?
But I've learned so much since then, both in terms of yeah, you need to do things outside of work too, and spend time with the people who are important to you. And also, when you're working on stuff, focus on the stuff that's actually going to move the needle, that's actually going to make a difference in the end product, because no one is going to hear the 40 hours you spent fiddling with the snare drum. It's just not important.
I think we had that talk, like, once we kind of realized, like, this is maybe not going as well as it could.
Yeah.
We figured out, like, okay, how do you find a more work-life balance, and what do you want to do? And then you asked me the question of what I wanted to do, and we worked on that for a while, and we started performing together. So that was like a way for me to get into the music industry with you.
Yeah. You finally let me hear you sing properly. And
it's like, I think I want to go perform out.
Right.
And I came to you and was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. And you booked us at like every restaurant and bar in town. And
at first we just took like really bad money too. We're just like, whatever.
Yeah, we did not know how much you were supposed to get paid. We did not know you could put out a tip jar. Still kicking ourselves for that one.
Yeah. I mean, for years. But yeah.
You really were the driving force of like putting that together, picking out the songs, figuring out how we were going to market ourselves. You built the website for that. You booked all the dates, managed the Instagram page.
Yeah, a lot of negotiation with the venues, things like that. And when COVID happened, like it fell off the tracks for a little bit, and I switched. Like, I performed with somebody other than you, learned a whole bunch of skills I had never learned, and then came back to you and decided to perform.
I briefly said, I cannot do this anymore. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I can't keep up. Because I had like just gone full time with, when was this?
It was close to, was it 2021?
Oh, okay. So this was when I was in the depths of like
really switching out to go full time,
but also like work was on fire because every school in the country closed down, and I suddenly had to build like an online learning infrastructure for 500 band teachers to teach 10,000 students overnight. So I was like, yeah, I can't do that for a while. Sorry.
You said maybe sometimes, but like maybe try to primarily perform with some other people for now.
It's not that I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing to do on a regular basis is like music on my own, and going out all the time was exhausting for me.
But I came back, and then you were like, never mind, I'll do it full time with you. I don't care.
Right. Because I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. And we did. And I bumped our income up.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
You raised our prices.
Yeah. And people accepted it. And now I don't even reach out to people. They reach out to me, and I have to say no.
And we're overbooked.
Because I think we've now finally realized like this is not exactly the path we want to follow for right now. But
yeah. I think you've gotten a lot better picture of what it is you do want to do.
Yeah. I think also watching you do all of this stuff and all the different people that you work with has kind of helped me to realize like, okay, musicians really need help.
Yeah, you're seeing
with the communications aspect of your stuff. Because I see all the stuff that you're struggling with. Like, you come to me with your struggles, and like, and also getting back to people. Like, you respond to people all the time on like Discord and whatever Twitter's called now, and like all of the platforms, but not really like when it comes to like really focusing on like the next big like move. I don't want to say financially, but like for your career directly. Like, you're good at talking with fans, but maybe not directly moving into like what could be the next big thing. I mean,
it's so
collaborations,
hard to keep up with the day to day, dealing with 100 DMs in your inbox every single day. And also think about these next big moves you're going to make, big partnerships I want to work towards, or big, cons I want to play at, music videos I want to produce, all this stuff. Every creative needs help, which is our next big project, is getting you to help those musicians because they need it.
Yeah. I think it's even just like, it takes a lot of effort to communicate with these people. So if you want a sponsorship, you have to hound them and email back and be on your toes. Like if they email you back, you have to email back right away if you want to get a response within a day. Like usually it takes days and days and days to get emails back in general. And if you want to collab with musicians, I have experience with reaching out to a ton of musicians, and it takes a long time to get people to say yes and to agree to things and set up dates. And so it's a lot of time. It can take a lot of time out of your schedule.
It's
and
a full-time job.
I know that you don't have.
Yeah.
So it definitely made me realize like that's what I want to do. I just have no idea how to get my foot in the door.
Right.
So like that's what we're struggling with right now.
And part of that is also like to I guess like finish telling the story of what I ended up doing in the world I ended up in. I realized I loved video game music, where it all started, and instead of covering like obscure 80s, instrumental guitar pieces and stuff and Red Hot Chili Pepper songs like I was doing for the first like 5 years on YouTube, I should cover these songs from video games that I grew up loving. So I started covering Sonic the Hedgehog and Mega Man and all these games and movies and stuff that I loved. My YouTube channel started to grow from there. Over the years, as audience interests shifted, I moved into what's called Nerdcore, which is writing music about, it's basically fandom music. It's any...
I like that wording better than Nerdcore. It makes more sense to me.
I agree with you. That is not what the industry at large calls it, though. We have all generally been using the term Nerdcore, which has caused some confusion and division within the scene.
Is it really?
There's this whole other hip-hop tradition also called Nerdcore, which is more like Weird Al is considered Nerdcore.
What?
Artists like, may not be anybody you'd necessarily know, but like just like nerdy rappers in general.
I guess I could see that, although I don't know why they would use that. To me, it sounds like metal music, like hardcore.
Right, hardcore.
Not like, we're just weird.
And that is the etymology of it. It does come from the term hardcore.
I would not consider Weird Al hardcore, though.
No, that's fair. It's more like core just became a suffix that you could throw onto anything. So
like you said, I remember you said the cottage core.
Cottage core is an aesthetic.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, nerdcore as a hip hop genre, like MC Lars, MC Frontalot, MF Doom. These are all rappers who are rapping about nerdy stuff. Like they like comic books, they like video games and stuff, but it's not the kind of really structured, almost like role-playing genre of music where like I'm singing as Sonic the Hedgehog in this song, and it's like we're writing unofficial theme songs for these games and stuff. And that I do think fandom music is the better term for it, but that's not what people call it. So I write nerdcore music. That is the world that I'm in, writing songs about this stuff. That's the other musicians and producers and industry I have access to on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok for another 4 days. And that's a very timely reference that will probably be out of date by the time this comes out. Who knows? Will it survive? We'll see. I do not really have the resources to help you get where you want to go in your side of the industry, the more traditional music industry, the kind of like the old school way the music industry worked with like shows in person in a defined local area. Like you want to break into the New York City soul pop scene with Lawrence and Melt and all these incredible artists who I have no mutual friends with, so I got nothing.
I mean, it's also not even, I wouldn't even clump them into like the traditional, I get what you're saying, but like it's still like more of an indie way of doing it. It is. They don't use the same types of things that like bigger artists use, like Taylor Swift or like something. I don't want to get into that.
True.
I want to get into like the lower tier where like my help could be valued and I don't have to be some like, I don't think I want to be like a crazy manager or something.
You don't want
like
to be
that.
Corporate working at some huge office.
No, I don't want to work. I mean, I feel like it's very like I don't want to work in that industry.
No,
I've worked in
understandable.
a male dominating industry
Yeah.
for 11 years. I don't want to do it
Yeah.
again.
I think the distinction in my mind between the way the music business works in my world versus that one is that YouTube is a main income source
Yeah.
for these people. They're almost YouTubers first and musicians second.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas your people are selling physical CDs and merch in person at these shows. They are
Not that you're not at cons and things like that,
sure.
but it's also, I mean, I know this sometimes bothers you when I say this, but I don't know that scene in general is like, they don't make performing as their primary
No, definitely not.
income. It's something that you guys do for fun and to meet other people and to collab with other people, but it's not really about
Right.
performing in person versus like this industry is all about having to tour to make their money and having to really push their albums, and you guys don't have really albums either.
I genuinely can't think of a single artist who tours regularly other than the Living Tombstone in my industry, who is at like the top of the scene. But everyone else, maybe they'll do a stream concert now and then. They show up at a lot of the cons. But it's pretty much that circuit of like, 8 or 10 cons throughout the world that these artists will go to. And for the rest of the time, we're in our studios making videos.
I think though the other day when we were talking about you going to the cons, like we were trying, or at least I was trying to help you figure out like how can we make the most of the cons to really like incorporate what you do. Like how can you meet up with some of the people that you collaborate with in person and do something for social media and have a whole bunch of content that you can push out then for the next month. And
we need to talk about that because we're going to MagFest next week and I need help thinking of more stuff to do like that.
And like I think last year I was like, you should make sure you bring like business cards or something fun to give out to people who do come up to you and say hi. And like
I think I brought guitar picks, right?
Yeah, you brought guitar picks. And I think at the con in the summer you brought stickers.
Brought stickers to NPC, yeah.
And like little things. I know it doesn't like make a huge difference, but I think
it does though, because I've had so many people like post my stickers and everything.
It gives a reason for people to then talk about you in the community, and then it like builds that community even more. And I don't know.
And I think a lot of artists on my side of things would benefit from that, like, traditional way of thinking about marketing and stuff. So that's so good.
Yeah. But anyway, you became famous very quickly.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
I mean, you decided to quit your job in what, 2021?
So in 2021, I guess. Wow. So we're going into my 4th year of being full-time musician.
Is that true?
Let's see. I think it is. I think 2021.
Oh my God.
November 1st, 2021. So we just passed 3 full years in November.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds a little bit more right. 4 was like, wow, 4.
Well, we're going into my
The 4. Yeah. Crazy.
So, yeah. I quit my job not on the success of Nerdcore music, which I had literally not even started making yet. I was still covering songs from a game called Friday Night Funkin'. Every week, here's how different my workflow was when I actually started finding success on YouTube. Before this point, when I was way overworking and never around, I would literally spend 40 to 80 hours on a song and video, tweaking the mix endlessly, obsessing over every guitar part to try to get it right, just going over and over and over it again. I was convinced I had to play everything live in my videos.
Yeah, I remember the drums.
Everything you see, had to play live drums in all my videos. Sorry, but every guitar take was like not mimed. It was like literally had to be perfect start to finish, and if I screwed up, start over.
It would take forever.
Take absolutely forever, 40 to 80 hours. By the end of when I was doing those weekly Friday Night Funkin' covers, it was about 5 hours total, start to finish.
Yeah.
I would spend an hour learning the song and transcribing it, an hour arranging the song, like the instrumental, an hour recording the guitar parts, an hour shooting it, and an hour editing it. And then I'd post it. And I would do this all. I would wake up at like 6 a.m. I would go down to my computer before I would go to work at 8. And I'd work on it for like an hour, grab breakfast, and go. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday I'd post a video. And I did that every single week for 2 years.
You did cut down teaching at that point.
I did start working,
Because of COVID.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
I was teaching till like 9 o'clock at night most nights, and on Saturday mornings before and after work. It was a lot. I was getting burnt out on teaching. It wasn't feeling like there was anywhere else for me to go with it. I could only physically take so many students, which meant I had hit a ceiling on what I could do with my time, how many people I could teach, which would become a factor with the music education course I'd start later. And also, like, yeah, there was a financial ceiling on, like, if we wanted, bigger things for ourselves, there was literally no more I could do.
Yeah, it was a good call.
Yeah. And for better or worse, the call was kind of made for me in that the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
And I took that as a chance to say, like, I'm really, really going to try to be done teaching.
And you learned from making that big course for your job,
right,
how to then mold that into something that you can use. Now you have Quick Start Music.
Yes.
And that's part of your, I don't know, the main career that you have. I think it was smart when you told me that you were going to pick a whole bunch of different avenues to go through, so that, like, if one didn't work out when you originally quit your job, that you'd have a whole bunch of different other resources in case something wasn't doing as well. And that was really smart.
Right.
So you started that school.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of different income streams as a musician. I have Quick Start Music, which is my online music education school. I have my main channel, LongestSoloEver. I have a reaction channel where I talk about other people's music. And then I have, Spotify. I have commission work I've done for other people. And then if needed, I can always go back to teaching. Mm-hmm. I have different skills I can fall back on. But yeah, I quit my job on those Friday Night Funkin' covers. What were you thinking when I did that?
Oh, honestly, I wasn't even thinking that this was going to be a question. I was working from home, and the biggest concern of mine was that we're both going to be working from home together. And in the house that we had at the time, I didn't have an office, and I still don't to a certain degree. I would like a door.
You are still 4 feet from the kitchen, which is a problem when I make bacon for lunch.
It's not as bad here. It's good. It's really not. But at that house, it was.
I had to walk through your space to get
anytime you want to do
anywhere
anything
in the house. To get to the bathroom, I had to walk through.
And so that was like my biggest thing, because I knew through COVID how it was. It was like a test run of it, and I was like, oh boy. Like, I lost pretty much any of my independence at that point.
Yeah, we went from, this is something we talk about a lot, which is like those 8 hours we had apart. There's the whole absence makes the heart grow fonder thing. And there's also, like, when you're physically around each other all day, you have nothing to really talk about at the end of the day.
We've gotten better.
We have gotten better.
To a degree. It was really only the initial.
Yeah, there was
a growing period of, like, okay, maybe we can, make sure I'm not on the phone when you have to make your dinner or make your lunch, or come upstairs and do this or that. But now I don't think I'd like it if you didn't work from home. I like that you're here and I get really sad when you have to leave. Like, tomorrow I know you have to go somewhere, and I'm like, oh, that's sad. I mean, the things I like about it is that I can sing at my desk, which I never get time to sing to myself anymore. Like, if we go somewhere, we're always driving together, or if we're like, I don't know, we're both at home, I don't feel comfortable just like shouting out like Defying Gravity or whatever. And then today you went to like Home Depot and I was able to sing a little bit and I was like, oh yeah, I want to do this. But that's
you should spend several weeks constructing an airtight vocal booth around your desk. That's what I'm doing this week.
Yeah.
It's my solution to being able to sing Defying Gravity at home.
But I was nervous. I was nervous for sure. I was like, okay, that means I cannot quit my stable job that I have right now that I absolutely hate. And I am not going to quit until we know for sure. Not that I wanted to quit. I just not even look for another job until we know that this is stable enough for me to go find something else. And it really took until like this year, I think, or really last year, to feel like super confident that it was going to work out.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't have faith in you. It was just like, YouTube it can go away at any moment.
I mean,
TikTok is going away
right,
in 4
literally.
days.
God.
And like, this is, who knows? You don't know. But then once you started to pull other things, and I know like you can sneeze and get a job. Like so many people call you and it's not even fair or funny.
Sorry.
And I know that we'd always be okay. Like there's not any doubt in my mind. Like schools call you and be like, can you come teach here? And it's just,
I know
you don't even want to do it. So I'm not worried, but I think at first, and I think everyone in your family was, because we didn't really understand what Nerdcore was either. We're just like, what?
Right.
I don't know what this is, but whatever. If you want to do it, I trust you.
Yeah. And that was a risk. That was me seeing the Friday Night Funkin' train starting to slow down and knowing like, okay, I quit my job a year ago. What's the next thing I jump to? This ship is going down. Where's a nearby one to jump onto? And I was looking at artists like The Living Tombstone, Oreo, CG5, DA Games, who are getting 100 million views on their songs. And that, the biggest video I'd had up until that point had 5 million. So I'm like, okay, that's the new ceiling. That looks like a fun thing I can do. Because I wasn't writing my own music in Friday Night Funkin'. I mean, I was, but it wasn't like the main thing.
Yeah.
But like, okay, I get to write my own music. I get to experiment with writing lyrics, which I really hadn't done since college.
I was going to say you weren't writing lyrics prior to that. It was just like a whole bunch of like,
it was all instrumental music, like you said, I believe. Exactly. That's accurate. And so, yeah, it was finding like, okay, what do my lyrics sound like? I think it helps a lot that it's writing as a character, as an established character. Like if I'm writing as a character from The Amazing Digital Circus, I know what their voice sounds like. I know what their character motivations are and what they've been through. And I can put myself in their headspace and write as them a whole lot better than I can write as me. And there's definitely some stuff to work through there.
Yep.
But it's also been like a really nice way to kind of explore some of the more personal stuff, like Holding My Breath in the Dark, my song about Kinger, the chess piece guy who he lost his wife and he can only remember things in the dark. Like that was an exploration of how I feel about like having ADHD and being unable to connect with my emotions super easily. So yeah, I find that helps me access that stuff a lot easier. That framing device really helps in writing lyrics.
Once you quit your job, your followers started increasing out of nowhere and super rapidly. And now we're at what, 460, 475, 480?
488, 89,
wow.
I think.
Wow. So almost 500,000.
We're going to hit 500 in like the next 2 months, I think.
And
it's a lot of people.
How do you feel about that many people watching you?
Fundamentally ridiculous that many people. I mean,
well, multiple people just got tattoos.
Yeah, 2 people as of this taping, as far as I know, have my logo tattooed on them, which is crazy, absolutely crazy and incredible. And I'm so like thankful and honored for that. And also,
it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of, not that I'm not just trying to be a good person in general, but it's like an extra layer of like, don't fuck up, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like to keep up the speed at which you're doing things. And
yeah. Well, that's honestly something I'm trying not to do, is not keep up. Like I put
quality, I guess is what I mean.
Yeah. To just keep being the best I can be at what I'm doing. I put out some like 50 songs last year when you count all the ones I collaborated on and produced and featured on. I wrote and produced 20 of my own songs and videos, and that's a lot. I'm not going to say it was like a quantity over quality thing or anything. Like, I poured my heart into all those, but I know I could do even better if I pace myself just a little more, take even bigger swings with things. But yeah, when you think about the sheer numbers of it, I think something like 200 million people have seen my songs.
Oh my God.
With Open the Door this year. And yeah, for the first time last year at MagFest, I met people in person who had heard my music before I knew them, who were like fans of mine. And I signed autographs. Same thing at MPC.
Took pictures. They wore
pictures
shirts
with people. They had my shirt. Like, it was surreal. I've literally only had those 2 interactions with people in person as far as fans go. So it's still barely real to me. I don't know.
I mean, I think a lot of YouTubers have that same feeling.
Yeah, it's almost like reverse parasocial relationship, where, like, for one, yeah, absolutely, there's the inherent parasocialness of, like, they all know so much about me and even you, like, there's facts about you on my, like, wiki page and stuff, which is weird.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like, the other side of that same equation is me knowing that there's 500,000 people almost out there who have clicked subscribe on my name because they like my music. And I know, personally, maybe like 8 of them. And through the internet, I recognize maybe 100, 200 names.
I mean, you're very much always on Discord and TikTok.
I am always interacting with people, yeah.
Always on your phone, talking to them like 24/7. So you do have like a big interaction when it comes to that, but it's still all virtual. Right. It's not in person, and it doesn't feel real.
0.001% of the people who even have subscribed to me, let alone seen my videos.
Yeah.
I mean, I maybe interact with, I'm going to say, tops 300 people total in my audience. As far as people who are active in my YouTube chat and in
I'm
Discord.
sure Discord probably has like 5,000 maybe.
There are about 5,000 people in my Discord. Yes. But as far as the ones whose like names I know, the usernames I recognize, it is like I know a couple drops and there's a whole ocean that also knows me. And that's wild. Not that I think I'm on some like crazy fame level. I'm not Taylor Swift having a,
have a bodyguards
at all times. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, nobody recognizes you out in public.
No, I've never once been recognized outside of a con.
Even at Comic-Con, no one has.
Even at New York Comic-Con, we go every year and no one's ever recognized me.
Yeah. Not that it's the same genre.
Not that it's the same audience.
You would definitely think they'd overlap, but.
You would think a little bit.
You can't even see what's right in front of you at Comic-Con, though.
No. It'll be interesting this year at MagFest. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, last year people flew from like all over the world to see you and talk to you. So
I had an amazing fan fly from Puerto Rico up to see me. I had someone come
and
up from Texas. Yeah, so it's awesome. Yeah, but at the same time, like, there is still definitely stuff to consider as far as like, safety and things I have to watch about saying that might reveal too clearly where geographically we are.
Yeah, like you had to get a PO box.
Yep.
In the last few years, just in case, like even for like collabs and things like that, or if people wanted to send you anything, like I feel more comfortable with you doing that. Right. And it's a little uncomfortable at times for sure. I mean, we moved and so like right away, like my first priority was putting security up, like security cameras and things up so that I would feel safe. And I think like it's kind of weird. Like we met when I was 18 and I did not
long before
ever expect this to be the case. And I didn't sign up to be in that world. Right. So I'm not that I'm saying that it's bad. It's just like,
I mean, YouTuber wasn't even a thing when we met.
barely. I had some. I was on YouTube and followed people and had my people that I would watch, and it was just starting.
It was
I remember
just
in
starting
college
where
being
people would become famous on YouTube
and make a living off of
Yeah.
it. But it was like vlogs, really. But I'm thankful that our relationship didn't go into the vlog territory for sure.
My God, no, that'd be so bad.
I can't imagine
I don't know how,
having that much of my life out there for everyone to see.
especially with kids. Ugh.
Yeah, and because they wouldn't have their own choice
Right.
of the matter, and I feel like that's kind of also blended into like some of our discussions, because there's a lot of things that we've wanted to do in our life that, like, I kind of want to keep private, and it's hard to do that. We had considered adoption at one point. We still might, but like,
one part of that process was giving them a ton of information about us, including a ton of photos that they were then going to put on a website.
There are things in our life that we want to do in our life that are not
part of this world, that are not like part of me as longest solo ever.
Yeah, and I feel like we have said some things out loud on your platform and in our personal life, really, to be honest, that I wish we had never said.
Sure.
Like making decisions and growing our family and potentially adopting, things like that, where I'm like, we've had to have discussions outside of all of that, and not that I don't want to get too personal and reveal too much about us. It's just doing a lot of those things required us to share a lot of personal information, and it was to the point where security could be an issue.
Right. I mean, part of the adoption process is there's an element of anonymity to it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can reverse image search any photo of me and find
pretty much all of our information, that is inherently counterintuitive to the anonymity and the safety of the process. Of the safety of us, but also the safety of the child, and also the safety of the birth parents. And it was just, it's still something we're trying to navigate, and not saying what we're deciding to do yet, because we, to be honest, have no idea what we want to do.
Yeah.
But it's made it challenging.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad or good. It's just something that people probably don't think about, being a YouTuber, being a musician, being somebody who has fans at all in general.
Right. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up for now. This was, like we said, kind of a weird episode in that we were both acting as both the hosts and the interviewees.
Guests. Yeah.
Normally, we're going to be interviewing a musician and someone with them, a guest.
This was just one example, me being a spouse or partner or girlfriend to a musician, producer, everything. I mean, you have lots of different hats, and I have lots of different hats, and just one example of how that chemistry can be in a relationship. And
I think what made this episode really tricky is that I'm really suited to interview musicians and you're really suited to interview normal people about their perspective on it.
Yeah.
But we had the worst possible person to interview for each of us.
Yeah, true. But I think it's a good example of just like how the relationship can be, good, bad, challenges, etc. And I think it'll be interesting to see what parents think about it, siblings think about it, roommates, whatever. Yeah. It'll be an interesting perspective and something you probably won't typically hear on a regular podcast.
Yeah. So if you like what you heard, please subscribe or follow or, rate 5 stars depending on what platform you're watching or listening to this on. Follow Relatively In Tune Pod on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok if it still exists.
Please. I don't want it to go
We're
away.
all hoping. And thank you so much for listening. I've been Dean DeMarzo.
I'm Tori DeMarzo.
This is Relatively In Tune Pod. Have a great day.